Alvin, how you doing, man? How are things?
What's up, guys? How are you guys?
Good.
We're hanging in. Hanging in. Good to hear your voice, man. Good to hear your voice.
Same here. Same here. Miss you guys.
Miss you too. Miss basketball. Miss hockey. Miss everything. One day it's going to be back to normal. But you know what? This Vince Carter discussion today, Alvin, it feels like normal. As I said to Tim off the front of the show, this is as normal a discussion as I've had in about 4.5 months here in this country about anything sporting related. And I mean, you played with Tim and I covered Vince. You played with Vince, so we have different perspectives. Why is he at times as polarizing as he is to Raptors Nation, do you think?
Vince Carter was, first of all, like a megastar. The first, I guess, basketball, American. I don't know the history of Canadian sports and whatever, but I know basketball was new, and Vince Carter put everything on the map. Vince Carter was the guy that, when I was playing and go back home, people didn't even know the Raptors were an NBA team at one point. They didn't know I played in the NBA when I said I played for the Toronto Raptors. And Vince Carter brought that to light. Vince Carter brought everything to light, and just his skill set and everything. But more importantly, it was just his demeanor on the court. He was charismatic. He was everything that a franchise needed and would love to have in order to have that franchise grow and take it to the next level. And I think that's what he brought. And I think that's why he is the polarizing figure that he is in Canada sports and NBA sports and in the world of sports.
So you grew up in Philly with some pretty damn good players. I mean, I've had conversations with you, Rasheed Wallace, Cuttino Mobley. Like, you saw dudes at a young age. What was the craziest thing that you saw from Vince Carter where you're just like, oh my God, this guy might be better than them all?
Well, that was right from the beginning. You knew, Vince was on a whole nother level. Vince was carrying a franchise. Rasheed Wallace was someone at an early age when we were in 8th, 9th grade, and he was doing things. First of all, he's bigger than everyone, but he was just doing things that we would dream about doing, from dunking the basketball. He was almost 6'9", wearing a size 12 or 13, could run fast. But Vince Carter, just from on that level, from a professional level where everyone is supposed to be at the top of the top, and he's still dominating the way he was dominating. And I think actually when he was playing, I think more of the opposition, they were more fans after when he first started doing things. I used to hear people ooh and ah on the court while he's playing against their team. And it was something where people just didn't believe the way he took the game over like a big storm, man. And it just happened overnight. Vince and I used to be able to go to the Eaton Center, and no one would know. They definitely wouldn't know who I was, but they barely know who he was. And,
really? You guys would go to you guys Eaton Center, and people wouldn't recognize you guys? Really?
Man, they damn sure didn't recognize me. And this was Vince's rookie year, and they would recognize him, maybe say, hey, there's Vince Carter. You may hear a whisper. But, after 3 weeks of preseason and the game started, we couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't go anywhere with him. And that was how quick, he took over basketball and took over Canada. And that was everywhere. We go to Minnesota, we go to Atlanta, we go to New York. It was unbelievable, the fanfare that he received in a short amount of time.
So you're saying, and I'm going to bring up a name that we're all familiar with, but maybe the people at home aren't familiar with, a man by the name of Jim LeBombard, who was a media rep for the Raptors for many, many years. You're saying his job got very difficult after a while. There were a lot more requests than normal.
I'm sure that's safe to say, and it would be interesting to get Jim's take on it. I'm sure, but after a while, man, it was. And you didn't on the road. You didn't want to have your locker next to his because it was going to be swarmed with media. You couldn't get dressed. I mean, it's those things, those little things where you're Kevin DiPietro is Kevin, do not put my locker next to Vince, because it just wasn't. It wasn't the best thing. You already knew what it was going to be like. So it was amazing. It was an amazing thing to see that notoriety. And I've never seen anyone like that. Only other athlete I think I've seen like that in my time was an Allen Iverson. Wherever AI went, it was just amazing. Here in Philadelphia, wherever around the world. And Vince had that same type of attraction to me.
Alvin Williams joining us here on Tim and Sid. I know that I look at the game differently than you do because I'm a fan and you played. But was there ever I'll never forget, and I was working at the Score at the time, and I remember doing the highlight pack for the Score when he turned baseline and dunked on Mutombo. I think it was at the old Omni in Atlanta. And I jaw dropped. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. Was there one moment where you watched Vince do something and you were just like, holy bleep?
Yeah, it was. There were a lot of moments. The first one I saw was when he went baseline against Indiana Pacers and he did a reverse dunk with two hands his rookie year. And it
turned
was
on Mullen.
Oh my God! I thought
Chris Mullen.
He went past Chris Mullen. Yeah. And I thought he was going to reverse dunk it, and he reverse double pumped, dunked it. And I thought he was going to reverse lay it up, and he dunked it. And it was just one of those things where I was like, oh my God. But, luckily I got a chance to play against him in college, and he had some monster dunks against us at Villanova his freshman year. So I saw that he can fly, but those moments like that, and then, he was one of those guys where you just throw the ball up and he would reverse it. He always knew where the rim was. He would reverse dunk, would not look at the rim. He would just do things that was just is he really serious? He's just trying things out right now in the course of a game. And people were amazed with it. So there were a lot of moments where, you had that, oh, shucks moment. And then you became kind of you took it for granted because you knew he was going to do something, through the course of a game that was going to raise your eyebrows.
Except it wasn't
Vince
shots.
Carter. Yeah, exactly. Vince Carter announced his retirement today on his own podcast. That has been the discussion both on social media and for the better part of this show all day. Alvin Williams, former Raptor, joining us here on Tim and Sid. Tim, I know you didn't ask me, but I'm going to interject my own favorite Vince memory. But it's not a dunk. I will always remember Vince and Alvin. You were in that series, in that 2001 Sixers series, for what he did before Game 7 and how he looked before, when he dropped 50 in Game 3. That still might be one of the greatest. You can argue that's one of the greatest performances in Raptors history. Might be the greatest because it was all around Vince. Because Vince had his sizzle, and we all knew what it was. But there was also that moment where he was a top 2-3 player in the league. How do you look back on that series against Philly in 2001 in terms of where his game was at?
It was a hell of a series, and he stepped up. I remember the series before where it was our first time making it to the playoffs, and he didn't have the greatest series. He was young, and he had to adjust. And throughout the next following year, he just, he was the man. He put everything on his shoulders. Of course, there was times that Charles Oakley challenged him, but Vince always stepped up to the plate. And that Game 3, I was so happy he had it because it made people forget about Game 2 when AI had 54 against me trying to guard him. So it was one of those things where I was just so happy. But until now, the history, they go back and forth, so they show it anyway. So, but I never forget. I remember after that game, after Game 2, I was pissed off, and I remember I went and kicked the bathroom stall. The door fell off. I didn't fall off the hinges, but it was a little flimsy afterwards. And I remember being pissed off, sitting in the hallway while everybody was walking by. And Aaron McKee walked past me. He's like, "Yo, Aaron and I grew up together." He's like, "Man, don't worry about it. When AI start rolling like that, man, there's nothing you can do." So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I get it, but I'm still pissed off. And the very next game, he was guarding Vince, and Vince had 50. And I remember seeing Blue at Aaron, and I was like, "Hey, man, don't worry about it, man. When he gets rolling, man, there's nothing you can do." So it's like we were trading war stories, being a victim.
That's amazing.
I was happy because that was a moment for Vince, man. It was like, you are the man. And he was the man. And not too many people are going to score 50 points against that Sixers team back, responding right back. And it was like the big brother type of thing. Don't worry about it. I got you. This is what they did last game. This is what he did. I got you. Watch what I'm going to do. And it was just one of those great games to be a part of and actually watch because he put on a great show.
I got to ask you this before we let you go. If Tracy and Vince coexist, how good is that team?
It's good. It's a hell of a team. I think it's just like anything else. You have to make sure that the egos and everything match up. If Tracy was the Tracy before he left, as far as how he viewed his role, I think we would have been a hell of a team. But if he became the Tracy that was in Orlando, that was the go-to guy, and felt that he was better than Vince and felt that he wanted his own spot, then I think it would have been more trouble for us. But if they both were there, I mean, Tracy was a guy that could do everything, score, defend, pass the ball. He could play off the ball. And at that time when he was playing with Vince, he looked up to Vince to me. I think he was enamored by Vince, and, he loved playing with Vince. But it would just have to match. But talent-wise, man, we'd have been really good. I think Tracy said that if he stayed, we would have did this and that, but I was pissed off by that because I thought we could have been good without Tracy. But now that I thought about it, we'd have been really good with Tracy.
And I can understand why you'd be a little pissed off at that.
Me too.
Sorry, well, one final thing, Alvin, before you go, because we had the conversation earlier. A lot of people, a lot of Raptor fans, it feels like today, are really in the corner of Kyle being the first ever number retired over Vince. Some people believe it can't be Vince over Kyle. Do you think that's an issue?
No, I don't. I think it's just a conversation to have. People forget, and especially with Vince, the way people were bitter about the way he left, and things that transpired while he was here. But I don't think Vince should have to wait for Kyle to retire, and years after that, for Kyle's number is retired, if his number is retired or whatever. That's an organizational standpoint, and that's a decision. But Vince, without Vince, who knows if the Raptors would even be here, right? Who knows? Because Vince was one of those guys who pioneered, and he put the battery in the back for the Toronto Raptors to be successful. And people like Kyle, people like DeMar, people like all these guys. They saw Vince play at a high level and looked up to this guy. So he did a lot, not just for himself individually, but for the organization. So if people do not recognize that, then it's unfortunate. But I know it would mean a lot to Vince, and I think that's the biggest way you can honor a person that played for a franchise and make that type of impact is by honoring him and putting his jersey up. So I don't think he should wait. The Raptors should wait. But once again, I'm not in that decision-making process. But both of those guys are my very close friends and brothers, and they both will be up there at some point, hopefully. So I don't think it's a big conversation to be had.
Alvin, we miss you, man.
I miss you guys too, man. This is crazy. This is nonsense. I'm ready to get over there. I think I'm gonna ride my bike over there and see how far I can get there and make it.
Put you in a
14-day quarantine. I'll be there in 4 months.
We'll deliver a steak to you in quarantine, okay?
Please, man. Tell Pops I said what's up.
I will. All right. Be well, man.
See you guys. Thanks for having me.